Good morning, sir. Today's second article is on running mate matters. If the democratic leaders on the ticket learn from each other, they can find a way to win. So, if the democratic leaders on the ticket for the elections will learn something from each other, they can find a way to win these elections. Presumptive means speculative or tentative. Speculative US Democratic nominee and former Vice President Joe Biden has picked Kamala Harris, Senator from California of Indian descent, as his vice presidential running mate, a fillip to his party's connect with African Americans, the Indian American community, women, and its core base of mainstream liberals. So, the speculative US Democratic nominee and former Vice President Joe Biden have picked Kamala Harris as the Vice President. So, this Philip means stimulation or encouragement to his parties connect with African Americans and the Indian American community, women, and its core base of mainstream liberals. Miss Harris, her late mother and cancer researcher Shamla Gopalan hailed means uh, beat from a Chennai based family, and Jamaican father Donald Harris, a retired Stanford professor, made a name for herself as a tough lawyer, politically ambitious enough to throw her hat in the ring as a bidden challenger in the Democratic primaries. So, Miss Harris, her late mother and a cancer who was cancer researcher named Shamala Gopalan, have showered from a Chennai based family, means came from a Chennai based family, and Jamaican father Donald Harris, means he was from Jamaica and his name was Donald Harris, and he was a retired Stanford professor, and he made a name for herself. She made a name for herself as a tough lawyer, political ambitious means aspiring, politically aspiring enough to throw her hat in the ring, means win as a Biden challenger in a Democratic primary. In a close parallel to the former President Barack Obama picking his Democratic primaries rival Hillary Clinton for Secretary of State, Mr. Biden chose Ms. Harris from amidst a cohort of strong candidates, including former NSA Susan Rice and Senator from Massachusetts Elizabeth Warren. So there was the President Barack Obama. He has to pick his Democratic primary rivals, Hillary Clinton for Secretary of State. Mr. Biden chose Miss Harris from amid, means from middle of the group of people who share a characteristic and of between group of people with strong candidates. Mr. Biden have chosen Harris. There were many people who are much better than her, but Mr. Biden have chosen her. So that is a very big reason of that. In picking Miss Harris, Mr. Biden has consolidated his position at the helm of Democratic Party mainstream, ensuring a convergence of views with his vice presidential nominee on race relations, policy and criminal justice reform, immigration, the healthcare insurance industry, and education policy. In picking Miss Harris, Mr. Biden has united or merged his position at a wheel of steering, officially controlling an organization that race is not the relation for picking out the people for a seat, vice president for politics. It's not a race. So, political and criminal justice reform, immigration, the healthcare, insurance industry, and education policy, these are not. It's the name, what they want. He wants the helm, means officially one who can control on the organization, the Democratic Party mainstream. The timing of her selection could not be better. As an outspoken leader on racism and a woman of color, the symbolism of Mr. Biden picking her will offer hope to many, including Black Lives Matter activists. So, Mr. Biden have selected Mr. Harris because she was outspoken leader on racism and a woman caller. So, this made this symbolism, this use of her can bring changes in some people of offering the politics. In the other hands, like Black Lives Matter also can have a hope in this. Miss Harris will not only bring to the Biden ticket her broad appeal across the Democratic spectrum, but at 55 will help tip the overall age profile of a potential future Democratic White House in the right direction. So Miss Harris not only have a want to bring Biden ticket, but also to appeal across the democratic spectrum, but also want a potential future democratic White House to show a right direction, to go in a right direction. However, if her 2020 presidential campaign was indicative, she will need to up her game on critical talking points, including her record as a prosecutor in her home state and on specifics regarding the complex questions of healthcare reform. So, however, in 2020 presidential, her campaign was indicative, and now she has to start critical talking on, as she was a prosecutor, means she was she treats harshly, she prosecutes, she had prosecute the state health and healthcare reform. So she says that we have to, there are complex questions, there are so many problems regarding health care reform, we have to concentrate on that. More broadly, she and Mr. Biden will have to be prepared for an unusual campaign endgame scenario with less than 3 months before election day and the COVID 19 pandemic slashing a swathe of economic misery. So, Miss Harris and Mr. Biden will have to get ready, have to be prepared for campaign endgame scenario, which is in which there is less than 3 months time before the elections, and the COVID-19 pandemic is devastating a broad strip of area. There was so much widespread of this COVID-19 of economic misery, and economy is also very down. Will they be able to go beyond the standard Democratic campaign playbook and adroitly craft a fresh approach to take on politically weakened President Trump, who will nevertheless likely come out guns blazing? So, will they be able to go beyond the standard Democratic campaign, and with a skillful craft, will they be able to mm, take a politically weakened President Trump decisions a more level? Have they pondered the deep lessons of Mr. Clinton's loss to Mr. Trump in 2016 and come up with the robust ideas to alleviate the economic pain of working class Americans? Perceive it to be the results of policies supporting globalization and immigration. Means will they consider the deep lessons of Miss Clinton's loss to Miss Trump in 2016 and come up with better ideas for working class Americans who are perceiving their life? Will she be able to go toe to toe with incumbent Vice President Mike Pence and yet avoid alienating independent and undecided voters? So, will she be able to go from starting to ending with catch every point with binding them and Vice President Mike Pence and yet avoid alienating? So if the two democratic leaders on the ticket learn from each other, there is a chance that they might arrive at a winning formula. So, if both the leaders who are in both the democratic leaders, if they take each other's suggestion and work together, they can get a way for winning. They can get a way for winning. They can find, they can arrive, and they can succeed in this. So today's second article is about the America's U.S. elections and Mrs. Miss Harris, who is an Indian, have settled in American. She was chosen as vice president, and what are the expectation of Mr. Biden on her, and what they have to do, what are the problems in US. Thank you.